I studied marine science and taught marine biology for a while before I got into animation. And so having thought, well, I'd like to do a show that centers around the really bizarre animals from undersea, specifically, I think, tide pools. So I looked at some of the drawings that I'd done, and I'd done a sea star and some crabs and octopus, and then I had done some drawings of sponges and thought they were really weird, and if I could just find the right character for that nerdy optimist, I would go with the sponge. And so I drew a few that were amorphous, you know, the kind of natural-looking sponges, and then I drew a square one, and it just seemed so funny. He had the pants and the tie and everything. It just seemed so odd, and in fact, he was kind of a square character. He's a square peg, and he fit the role perfectly, and so that's basically how I came up with SpongeBob. I wanted to do an undersea show that didn't sort of follow the same logic of other undersea shows like mermaid stories, where you see fish and they live in old boots and in tin cans and basically refuse from us. And I thought, well, what if they have their own little society that's based on familiar imagery like anchors, and as far as for a house, someone lives in an anchor, or someone like SpongeBob lives in a pineapple, which is from Polynesian imagery, and that there's a certain suspension of your beliefs, like that there's no fire, and that fish walk, and these sort of things that help us to write stories that parallel our lives.
In the very beginning, SpongeBob was called Sponge Boy, but I think they found out that someone else was using the name. There was another character named Sponge Boy, so they had to change it to SpongeBob, and for about a minute and a half, everyone was very upset about that, and then they realized SpongeBob is better.
There will be 3 signs that signal the approach of the hash-slinging slasher. First, the lights will flicker on and off, on and off. Next.
Dude, can I have some ketchup?
Oh, yeah, here you go. Next. The phone will ring, and there will be nobody there. And finally, the hash-slinging slasher arrives in the ghost of the bus that ran him over. And then he exits the bus and crosses the street without looking both ways, because he's already dead. Then he taps on the window with his grisly spatula hand.
No.
He opens the door. He slowly approaches the counter. And you know what he does next?
What?
You really want to know?
What?
Are you sure you want to know?
What? What does he do?
He gets ya!
Ah! Ah! Ah!
Oh, boy.
That's a lot of laughing.
SpongeBob. SpongeBob, SpongeBob, I was just joking!
What?
It's not true. None of it's true.
It's not?
Of course, nobody has a spatula for a hand. It was all just a joke.
Oh?
Herm.
And exit.
Don't you dare take the name of Texas in vain!
You mean we can't say anything bad about dumb old Texas?
No, you can't!
Oh, then can we say people from Texas are dumb?
No, you can't say nothing about Texas!
Oh, so we shouldn't say anything bad about Texas.
I'm warning you, SpongeBob!
Look, Patrick, I'm Texas. Howdy, y'all. Howdy, y'all.
I'm Texas too. Get a dog, little longy. Get a dog. Get a dog, little longy.
Howdy, y'all. The stars at night are dull and dim whenever they have to be over dumb old stupid Texas.
Y'all best cut it out!
Hey, Patrick, what am I now?
Stupid?
No, I'm Texas.
What's the difference?
Y'all best apologize, or I'm gonna be on you like ugly on an ape.
You'll have to catch us first. We did it! We did it!
Krusty Krab, here we come! Can we say that plants from Texas are dumb? Can we say that, shoes from Texas are dumb?
Okay, that's enough, Patrick.
Why do you think that old Slowpoke Texas is gonna, ah! Ah! That's all I have.
Don't cry anymore, Sandy. I'll go get your bags.
I'm not crying. I'm laughing. I appreciate all you're trying to do, SpongeBob. But home isn't about barbecues and pecan pies. Home is where you're surrounded by other critters that care about you. What am I doing? I've been home all along, and it took me till just now to realize it.
So you'll stay?
I'm staying.
Welcome home, Sandy!
Yay! Who needs dumb old Texas anyway?
What did you say?
Oh, should I start running now?
Yeah.
But I thought you... But why I gotta...
Squidward, we already played Babble Like an Idiot.
Why are you still here?
Well, since we finished everything on the list, I thought I'd make a new one. We should be able to finish by January. I've already filled this book with ideas.
Forget the book. I spent the whole day with you doing all kinds of ridiculous things because you were supposed to explode!
You want me to explode?
Yes! That's what I have been waiting for!
Okay, I'll try. Gary, you're gonna finish your dessert and you are gonna like it! Bye! Now it's your turn.
That's not what I meant, you barnacle head!
Ooh, good one.
No! No! You're supposed to explode into a million pieces!
Why would I do that?
Because the pie you ate was a bomb!
What pie?
The one I left sitting on the counter this morning! That I bought from the pirates for $25! That pie!
A pie. Oh! You mean this pie? I was saving it in my pocket for us to share. Let's eat. Oops!
Ouch.
Well, when I draw SpongeBob, I always draw in his basic construction first, lightly, which is what I'm going to be doing here in blue. And we'll do this so that it won't mess up the drawing later. Once I have a pretty firm idea of where his construction is, I can start laying in the details. His eyes fall just above the midway on his face. He's got a little cheek that pokes into one of his eyes and a nice big smile. Even his teeth fall in right along that center line, so I put those guidelines in to help me keep his proportions correct all the time. He's actually got a very specific pattern of holes, which seems complicated at first, but after you've done it a whole bunch of times, it becomes pretty easy to remember. And his little shoes are like little beans with a heel on them, and he's got socks. And bring the cuff of his pants up there. And gonna put his belt on as well. So Sponge is basically square shaped, and his friend Squidward starts off with a round bulbous head. And I'm gonna put the guideline in there. And he's got longer eyes than SpongeBob does, and big nose. Let's get this big egg-shaped head up at the top. And a nice skinny neck.
What we got from this show was 3 pages describing how SpongeBob and Squidward are going to work overnight, and Squidward tells a ghost story and then becomes scared by his own story. We're changing it and revising it and trying to make it funny. And then when we think we've got it all working properly, we pitch in front of the entire group and some of the executives. And that's the big one. That's the one that makes you nervous. Because if it's not funny, they don't laugh, and if they don't laugh, you do it again. But the schedule doesn't change. You still have to get it done 3 weeks later. There are 3 signs that signal the approach of the hash-slinging slasher. Third foot comes up boop, to make the 3 signs. First, the lights will flicker on and off, on and off. Next, guy walks up, dude, can I have some ketchup? Here you go. Next, the phone will ring, and there will be nobody there. He points to the phone. And finally, the hash-slinging slasher arrives in the ghost of the bus that ran him over. SpongeBob's chattering his teeth. He exits the bus and crosses the street without looking both ways because he's already dead. He taps on the window with his grisly spatula hand. No! He opens the door. Creak! He slowly approaches the counter and he leans in towards SpongeBob. SpongeBob's face squeezes back into his body. And then you want to know what happens? Yes! Are you sure you want to know what happens? Yes! He gets you! And he pops up behind SpongeBob. Ah! Sponge screams. Ah! 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 And Squidward's just laughing. Ah! 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 And Squidward's pounding on the table. Ah! 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 And he starts crying, and then he starts relaxing, and the screaming is still going on. Ah! 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 We get to the wide shot. Ah! 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 And now Squidward's getting angry. It's still going on. Ah! Ah! SpongeBob, I. Ah! Ah! SpongeBob, I. Ah! Ah! I was just. Ah! Ah! SpongeBob's mouth. I was just. Ah! His pupils are screaming. Ah! 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 SpongeBob, I was joking. What? It's not true. It's not true. None of it's true. It's not? Of course not. Nobody has a spatula for a hand. That's ridiculous. So it's not real? No, I made it all up. It was a joke. It's a huge beat while SpongeBob thinks about what he's just heard, and then he starts laughing. And the laughing goes on just like the screaming, and we fade to black. And I need to breathe. Okay.
In SB 129, SpongeBob and Patrick go back in time and they go into the future. And we had a lot of problems painting some of the future paintings because the creator wanted, in the future, for everything to be chrome, to look like chrome. And it's a very difficult kind of thing to paint because when you're painting chrome on chrome, chrome reflects everything around it. We can go talk to some of those painters right now and check some of that out. Do you have that painting up for us? Yeah. So on the show, we don't really paint the entire painting. We work a lot in the computer. And this painting he's been working on, it's the exterior of Bikini Bottom. And he has been painting it all to look like chrome. And we're going to be adding the sky in a little bit later. And he'll be doing some work in the computer, adding some airbrushed highlights, playing around with the color a little bit. I think you could probably pull this back a little bit. It's probably a little bit too dark. It probably needs to be a little bit lighter. They're probably not really going to pull that idea of chrome off too well if they're that dark. And you make sure that you shift this entire painting a little bit more cool. Right now it tends to look a little bit too gray. Let's take a look at it after that. All right? All right? All right, good. Thanks. Another important aspect of my job is to make sure that all the props, the characters, and the models work with the backgrounds. So we have right here show 129, and these are how we mark up the characters' different colors. So let's go talk to the painter about what's going on. Hey, Calvin.
Hi, Lee.
How's it going?
Pretty good.
So how's your painting going?
Yes, good.
This is Calvin Liang, another one of our background painters. It's important when he's making a painting that it works with the characters in the show. And so a lot of times he'll have reference cells of the characters, and they'll be put on top of the background to make sure that each one of them works in this environment so that, say, something that's yellow in the background isn't the same yellow that SpongeBob is. And you can see that all these characters work really well in this background. We can see everybody really clearly. It's a nice painting, Calvin. Looks pretty good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.